Hello everyone, this is Caroline again for another process video. This one's called InstaTOUR. So I live in Lake County, Ohio, and the Visitors Bureau had this little thing where they said one weekend, go to these places, take pictures, upload them to Instagram, put a hashtag on them, and at the end of the weekend we'll pick pictures to win a prize. And the prizes were things like a book of a particular location or a mounted photograph, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like oh, this is a fantastic prize. I really hope I win. So I don't know about you all, but sometimes I feel like the term I use is the chair of the entertainment committee. Like everybody's looking at me trying to figure out what I'm going to do to keep them all entertained. And frankly, I'm flat broke these days, so I'm constantly looking for fun things that are free. So when I saw this, I thought this looked like a great idea for my daughter and I. We were alone one day and she had just gotten a birthday or a camera for her birthday, so this seemed like a great thing to just get out and about and go do. So at this point I'm using um, the Silhouette spatula, which I can't say enough good things about, to pull up this title. This is a brand new Silhouette mat and I keep sticking to it. This is, I love a new mat and I hate a new mat for this reason. Like my forearm kept sticking to it. It ended up being a little bit of a nightmare. The font that I used for the Insta part of that is something called Billabong. I think it matches the font in the Instagram logo pretty well. And then the second half is just Impact, which is, nice go-to font. I chose to use just the plain black instead of the polka dot. There were some polka dots in bad spots. Like it just would have made it difficult to read. So when I started this out, I had that kind of bluish teal stripe on there, and I wasn't certain if I wanted to do this. But as soon as I start moving that Insta over onto that triangle paper, I realized that it just doesn't work. While Insta isn't delicate by any means, once I put it on those big bold triangles, it got lost right away. So here I wanted to give myself some options. I wasn't quite certain which direction I wanted to go. So I cut out this wonky scallops uh, border in a couple of different pieces of pattern paper. And I had no intentions of layering them up like this. But once I pulled them off, I kind of thought it was a neat idea. Um, Normally when I pick colors, it's a it's a thing. Like I look at my papers, I make certain that the pattern papers match the mood of the photographs, um, and then I go from there. I draw colors from the pattern papers themselves. I look at the pictures, and everything matches in a mood sense to the pictures. Um, this layout, however, might be a little bit different from my normal strategy for a couple of different reasons. So this is my youngest daughter, Molly, and she just turned 14, and she's going through a phase, man. She is just, I don't know how else to phrase it. So, and she and I are very aesthetically different on just about everything anyway. And so rather than being so meticulous about patterns and colors and the whole bit, I just kind of loosened my focus a little bit. That's the way I'm going to phrase it. The pictures that I have here aren't super, they're kind of all over the place color scheme wise. The top picture is a picture of beer pulls at a local antique shop. If you're ever in the area, it's called Eastside Relics, and it's definitely worth a stop. It's in downtown Willoughby, Ohio. It's a cool place. The bottom one is pictures of chairs on President Garfield's front porch. He lived in Mentor, Ohio. So there's not any distinct color scheme that I wanted to go with. So what I really wanted to do was reflect a little bit of Molly's aesthetic, which Molly's aesthetic is just crazy. So at this point, I'm kind of just mixing and matching patterns that I wouldn't normally do. And as long as I can make it work and have everything be readable, even though it doesn't necessarily go together, the cohesiveness is Molly. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So at this point, I've got my title adhered down. You didn't see it. I didn't put the box on here, but I used my spray adhesive to get that put down. And at this point, I'm just kind of laying my pictures down as best I can. The one on the bottom especially is going to end up getting moved here in a second. It doesn't really work where it is. So I decided that I was going to cut off the white border on that middle picture and I was going to mount it. I've been scrapbooking for what seems like forever, and back in the day, um, we were very much more rules oriented, and we were told that there was a focal point photo. So you were going to have, probably odd numbers of photos, and one of them was going to be the important photo, and you should treat that one differently. It should get matted 3 times instead of just once, or the title should be there, or you would mat it in a different color or something to make it stand out. So even though I'm not one for dealing with the scrapbook police anymore. That's one of those things that, I do tend to do every once in a while is figure out what that focal point photo is. And certainly beer pools and chairs are less important than my daughter. So she, by default, becomes the focal point. So that is going to get mounted a couple of different times. And then the embellishments will get clustered around that as well. So now that I've got my yellow strip down, I'm going to use that as my basis for where to put those photographs. I like this bonehead move. So I adhere the adhesive to my journaling strip and decide that, oh yeah, I wanted to chalk that. So again, I'm dealing with stickiness. I can't really get away from it on this layout. And here we go again. I'm having a terrible time with the ATG gun for this one, so it's kind of a hot mess, but that's okay. However, once I get this one adhered down, I am walking away. I'm going to go over to my regular scrap area and grab a duck adhesive, which is a lot easier to put down. And I'm going to just kind of wonky border or apply this border down. Normally, I don't usually do this border quite so big. It's one that I go to a lot. I've probably used it 10 or 15 times. Usually it's a little bit smaller, like I would cut it out just at, maybe 3 inches long and tuck it underneath of a picture. I really like it. It's one of my favorite. There are things that I use from the Silhouette store over and over again. This particular border is one of them. There are certain fonts that I use a whole bunch. I said in the last layout that I don't rough up the edges very often, and apparently maybe I lied a little bit. Maybe I do it more often than I think. Check out that mess. Gotta get rid of it. So I get this down and I decide that, I need to mount my photo. There's just not enough contrast there. So I head off and I find some paper. I end up picking up some paper that's blue with cameras on it, except for it just doesn't work. Like I get to this point and I just look at it and think, nope, that's not going to work. Even though I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed with the colors and not worry about matching, it just doesn't go really with anything else on the page. So I had this scrap of green handy, and it goes with some of the different pictures on that social media pattern paper that it's going on top of. Instantly, I pull out a button that says Insta Love, and yet I still feel the need to dig around just in case there's something better. But I put it away pretty quickly. Can't say enough good things about that button company. It's a flair for buttons on Etsy. They're flat backed, definitely the best buttons to work with ever, for all time. I've had these photo corners probably since about 2002, I want to say, and I didn't use them for the longest period of time because they're cream based and I really don't do anything with cream. And then one day I realized that, going back again to the scrapbook police, they weren't going to come knocking at my door if I used a Sharpie marker in my album. So I realized that I could color them into whatever I wanted them to be. And I really enjoy doing this. You can see I've got the ink stains on that piece of paper to prove it. It's just such an easy way to customize those and really make them work within the layout, especially since I tend to do everything on white cardstock. The cream really doesn't work. In this particular layout, I've got cream on the white anyway, which I'm not going to lie, kind of drives me nuts, but it works, I guess, in some regard. So this is that same Studio Calico font that I tried to use in the last layout and it didn't work. This time I knew that I would be okay. Again, I'm just using my purple Sharpie marker to color these in. Once I realized that those Sharpie markers were fair game in my scrapbook, I think that was pretty much a game changer. So these are the My Mind's Eye stickers that I talked about in the last video as well, and I counted how many sheets. You're actually getting 6 sheets of letter stickers in there. So I do think that's a good bargain. They were, I want to say $5.99, although I did get them at the, the last going out of business sale for 2Ps. I had, I want to say 10 or 12 sheets of Bella Boulevard paper in my cart for the longest time, and I couldn't find it. I don't have a scrapbook store local, so I decided that I was going to pull the trigger, but to justify shipping, I needed to add one or two things. So I put in a blue set of these stickers and a red set. So this is nori paste. I bought it at a, in air quotes, real art store. Um, it's really fantastic stuff. Um, of course, the real art store has, like all the scrapbook stores, gone away. So when I finish this, I'm going to have to buy it on Amazon, but you can buy a big tub of it for like $10. It'll last forever. It works perfectly for wood veneer. It does not, however, work perfectly for the flat backed flare buttons. So that I'm going to use the red line adhesive, which is good stuff. So this is a fridge bins. This is my other fridge bins of embellishments. You have now just seen about every bit of embellishments that I own ever anywhere. So I wish I could use some of these labels, the Jelly Bean labels, my Mind's Eye labels, but they're really big. I think the assumption that manufacturers make, and I understand it because I definitely know that I'm in the minority, is that you're scrapping on 12 by 12 and you've got tons and tons of room. So embellishments can be a little bit larger, except for I find that when I'm scrapbooking, by the time I have a title and a couple of pictures on an 8.5 by 11 page, which I really love this format, I have no intentions of changing, but it does pose some problems. I just don't have the real estate to give to something that's really big. So this is a crocodile. Remember this? This was, oh, probably had it for maybe 8 years, maybe 9. I don't know. But I found some of my Mind's Eye flare to stick in there, and I like that. And I'm going through, I think this is basic gray. Again, this stuff is all enormous. I purchased it over the internet. I would not have purchased it had I seen it in real life. I would have known that too much of it was too big for me to use. So even though this loved it, it's too big, I decided to trim off the arrow part of it and then corner round it. And I sometimes love how MacGyverish we scrapbookers can be. So I can't get and it's totally off. Oh, no, it's not. I couldn't get the little thing in my corner rounder by itself. So what I did was I just temporarily taped it to a scrap of paper and used the scrap of paper as kind of an extension to be able to get in there. So that's my final product. I really love the crazy color scheme. I think it's ridiculous, but it works perfectly for this picture of Molly, who, by the way, is taking a picture of lights that were on the underside of the eave of this bar. So I love the way the purple works. Purple is Molly's favorite color. It's not really on the layout anywhere for any particular reason, but I incorporate it as much as I can just because of her. And, it's a layout about her. It should make her happy, and things like purple make her. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the encouraging words and the thumbs up and subscribing. Keep on doing it. Visit my blog. I'll see you next time. Thanks.